Hello, everybody. Ooh. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, Lycan. What did the grape do when he got stepped on? He let out a little whine. Oh, hi, Jax. How you doing, bud? Welcome back, everyone. We are back with more Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm not sure what I don't think we've got much in terms of side stuff at the minute. Well, I know we could do these signal towers and then give them to that lady in Barren Light. That we could do maybe, but we've done the hunting grounds. We're level 15, so we're pretty close to getting the cauldron unlocked. That's nice. There's stuff, things and stuff. Yeah, like other like settlements and things maybe. But I think what we'll do, point, probably head our way to Plainsong and just kind of start the but continue the story from where we left off. So yeah, that's kind of, I think that's the plan. Oh yeah, arena. Right, arena. Yeah, signal. How many signal towers can I do? There's 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's 4. I mean, that's not too bad. I mean, if push comes to shove, like if we do like plain song and like we're kind of, and then we unlock all this area and whatnot, then we could go back quickly. Boring. I figured we'd continue on from where we left off. And it would help if I could hear the game. How's everyone? Hope everyone's doing well. Is having a good Wednesday. Let me show you around. Lycan? Are you in work today, Lycan, or having some time off? Is it main story time? It is main story time. Main story time. I did not mean to do that. Fuck. Ew. Wow, where's my... Did I burn through all my medicinal berries? That's mental. Hate me today. I hope work goes well for you. Let's call my charger. I keep saying Strider, but it's not Strider. It's a plain song.
Right, plain song. The Blight's taking over the Utano fields. I have to get Guy up and running.
Oh. That's... Oh, bridge. I see a bridge. There's a lot of blight. That's covering. Ah, and we thought the Norlands were bad. Holy shit, it's worse here. Hi. Plain song. Hello.
There's Varl and Zoe.
Oh, there. Side quest. Like to know your story.
Outlander in Plains. A word of warning. Avoid the ruins northwest of Plainsong. Scouts say something lights up the ruins when night comes. Whatever it is, it's not natural.
Good to know.
Okay. Definitely going for that.
Something lighting up the ruins. Could be old world tech. Might be worth taking a look.
Okay. Something dangerous. I'm going to have a look. Let's go with Outfitter. Let's go see the Outfit Stitcher. Love the music here, by the way. Lovely stuff. Or will it not talk to stream? Hi. Are you the... Are you... Oh, you're up there, aren't you? Are you the Stitcher? You're a farm, aren't you? Fuck. Let's just talk. Ah, I gotta go upstairs, haven't I? Farm bit is down. I think a lot of them are up above, so. Sorry.
There's plenty of abandoned
Oh. And just walk right past you. That is Yeah. There's a workbench.
So the rumors are true. You must be the soldier who took down Regala's champion. And
Yes.
the one who's got this place in an uproar.
Oh.
What's a Tanakh's doing in Plainsong?
Resupplying for a trip to the hunting grounds? You should come by, it's just northwest of here. Bet a sturdy soldier like yourself could handle the trials there.
But I could. Maybe I'll see you there.
Cool. New hunting grounds unlocked. Nice. I think there was just two, wasn't there? It's very Halo.
You're the one that soothed Ray. Please! The chorus won't meet with me. I don't know what else to do.
How about you just start by telling me what's wrong?
I'm from Riverhim, to the north.
Oh yeah.
A few days back, I woke to the screams of my neighbors as Tanakh's rebels attacked. They were just scouts.
You bought a new game today?
We barely
Oh,
drove
digital
them
purchase.
off. If
Nice.
a
What you
full
get?
raiding
What you
party
get?
comes next. We're not fighters. We're done for. I thought the chorus would help us. I thought we all sprouted from the same earth, but it seems an outlander is the only one who even listened to me. Would it be too much to hope that you'd stand with us in this fight?
Regala's rebels. Do you know why they're attacking you?
You're asking why the sun sets at night. They are Tanakhs. They live to fight. As usual among themselves.
Oh, Tales of Arise.
This
Nice.
time my
Did you get the
village is
DLC
caught
with
in
it?
the middle. The rebels want to strip it of supplies to feed their campaign against the western clans.
If they're not attacking here, can't you retreat to Plainsong?
An outlander might find it difficult to understand. All Utaru carry seeds that are planted when we pass. My people have planted many seeds in Riverhim's Grove, a
Not yet,
gift
no.
from the buried years.
At least you got the game though. It's an amazing game. Tales of
Call
Arise.
raids.
Very, very good game.
We'll never leave. We sacrifice too much.
Of
You
course.
said your own people won't help.
The chorus are supposed to speak for all.
What about the
Normally, I wouldn't question
intro?
them, but they
What
see
about the
outlying
outro?
settlements like Riverhim as lost lands.
maybe the bass,
No longer
the
under
rhythm,
Plainsong's protection.
the lead into?
They won't even meet with me to discuss it.
I'll
If
stop
I
now.
find myself up north, I'll check in on your people.
I ask nothing more. When you reach the village, look
Oh,
for
yeah,
Aloy.
I suppose, yeah, if you
She's
finished the
heading
game
up our
twice before, then
defenses.
yeah, it makes sense. The Roots That Bind. That's level 15. Okay, I can do that. I'm level 15, so that's...
If you're hungry, stranger, I'd be willing to trade some rations.
Am I hungry?
Can you spare a moment for a lowly forager? This is a Aloy, wasn't sure you'd ever come around.
Oh, it's
What do
Yaf.
you think of Plainsong?
Hey,
It's quite a place.
the guy.
Sure, as long as you like the smell of manure. Don't mind me. I won't go wandering again, I promise. There are people who need me here. Some of the others the Eclipse took had it worse than me. A lot worse.
Do what you can for them, Yef.
I will. Won't be anything like you did, but I'll give it my best.
That's all anyone can ask for, buddy. That's nice. Let's see, Yef. He wouldn't, if you hadn't done the side quest, you wouldn't have had that interaction with him. I do like that. It's so cool though, the fact that this is basically made out of wood. Just one massive fucking treehouse. It's like a skyscraper made of trees. Like, imagine Tarzan saw this, he would go bananas. Osseram Wayfarer? Ooh, okay. Utaru Harvester. That's a pretty cool outfit, actually. Oh! Also that, though. Oh, damn. That's actually quite nice, too. Kaja Shadow outfit, though? Damn. I need one long leg circulator. I could probably buy that from a scrapper for like 50 or 100 metal shards.
Please, come back again.
Oh, appreciate the contribution, Nathan. We are in the midst of heading towards... Oh, sorry. I went the wrong way. Sorry. It will be a while until I start a modded playthrough of Cyberpunk. I've already got a run going and I don't want to stop that. I also want to gap out playthroughs. Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. Can I talk to the... Actually, didn't talk to the actual...
I prefer the sound of machines to singing.
Ooh! Slicing hunter bow? Ooh, okay. Sounds very nice. Mid-range bow is optimized for tearing off machine parts. A coveted weapon among Utaru warriors.
As soon as I get my supplies, I'm heading back to the hunting grounds.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna save up for that that weapon, that armor, that Kaja Shadow armor. Looked real nice.
You made it.
I know it's like less resistance to ice, but
I'm here, as promised. It's singing. Does it mean the chorus is ready?
It is assembled. I couldn't have done it without Varl.
oh,
But I don't know what good it will do. The chorus is in disharmony. The subject of the cave is bad enough. Land God Fa still hasn't emerged, and every day more deadly machines try to force their way out, throwing themselves against the defensive cordon we set up around the entrance. That is only the first of many false notes. Your request has exposed deep divisions within the chorus itself and the tribe.
You said you couldn't have assembled the chorus without him.
at the
What did
point
you
in the
do?
current word speech to just ended yet.
Some in the chorus refused to meet to consider your request. They believe that the cave belongs to the land gods alone, but Varl saw that what you did with Ray could be used to our advantage.
Sometimes it isn't enough to ask the people in charge. You need others to ask for you. As many as possible.
Word about how you soothed Ray?
There may even have been a little exaggeration.
Growing interest put pressure on the chorus until they finally agreed to meet.
You've also pre-ordered the game? Oh, have we pre-ordered?
And even with my
Actually,
mother,
wait,
once or twice.
Nice job.
hold on.
You can handle the
Isn't-
politics from now on.
Oh no. I'm sure we'll still need you to cut through them from time
Isn't
to
the
time.
Power Rangers game out right now? Hold up.
I get that the cave is sacred, but how did asking to go inside cause such a fuss?
The fuss was already there. Many in the tribe, and most in the chorus, want to keep doing what we have for generations, which often is nothing. But there are others who call for change.
Coming soon, it's still not out yet.
Extreme measures. Your request
Must have
has
been
given
delayed.
fresh life to the debate.
Right. Tradition. I've run into that before,
But each tribe has to be dealt with in their own way.
if you say so.
What game did you pre-order? Checks, by the way.
Just some wooden barricades. We don't have the stonecraft of the Karja or Oseram. It is our archers at the cordon that truly hold the machines back.
Concord. Oh, nice. Okay. Oh yeah, because you played the beta, didn't you?
Attacks every day. I hope they can hold out.
Kind of
What
machines.
machines are coming out of the cave?
Scavengers.
You
and
said you enjoyed the beta, didn't you,
Hydracops.
for Concord?
But they're tougher than any we fought before. More vicious, with a strange purple glow.
Sounds familiar.
You've fought machines like these?
If they are what I think they are, then yeah. There may be a whole other problem in that cave. All the more reason for me to get inside and figure it out.
Need.
So, the chorus is assembled. What now?
They're considering your request.
Then shouldn't we go talk to them?
When you're ready. But don't worry. Their debate won't end anytime soon. Meetings like these can go on for days.
All right. Then maybe I should resupply first. Who knows how many machines are in that cave?
Assuming the chorus agree to allow you inside.
Aloy can be pretty convincing in these situations.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Do what you need to prepare.
Aloy's
Wait
just
till you're
like,
done.
no? What is
When the
that
chorus
word?
is gathered.
I don't know the meaning of no. Meet Val and Zoe outside the chorus. Okay. This is where I could have just like decided to explore them. Do I think it was a long leg circulator I needed to get. Just see. For goodness sake. Campfire has this salvager has it. You pre-ordered the deluxe edition, which is wow, £50 for the deluxe edition? That's actually really cheap. Yeah. Is it gonna be one of those like free to play games then? Yes, I can see the love heart. Yeah, he's got it. Long next to 26 metal shards. I'm right behind that.
Good call.
But
Aloy, I've got some prime salvage for you right here.
I'm gonna get that outfit. No, the regular edition. Oh, the regular edition is £40. Oh, that's not too. Oh, that's actually really cheap for a next gen for generation PS5, Xbox Series X console game thing. Oh, new rumor. Hold on.
Outlander.
Go on. Tell us the goss. What's the goss? What's the goss?
Keep your guard up if you're heading southwest of Plainsong.
Huh?
We've had reports of Tenakth rebels in the area. Our scouts are still recovering from their wounds.
I'll keep that in mind.
I'll shoot them for you.
Sounds like the Utaru could use some backup against Tenakth rebels.
Southwest. Oh, that would have been here. No, Rebel Outpost. Could go there and Rebel Outpost. Or head up to River Hymn. We've got a few things to look at. It was the armorer, wasn't it? Yeah.
Nervous?
Bringing an Outlander before the chorus. I hope this works.
It'll be worth it, Zoe. You'll see.
Goddess Shadow. Oh, look at that. Potent medicine and low health defense +1. You know what? You know what?
See.
That will.
That's not good. I can't lie. Good. Take them off. Why can't I can unequip them by default? Nice. Oh, there you go. -10. That's not too bad. Well, +2 concentration if I upgrade it.
And impress.
Where's your workbench? Oh, it's by the hunter. Right, let's go. There we go. Check the map. What are we looking for? Oh, there's machine strike down. Oh, it's at the herbalist, maybe? What should we look at? Is there a person that can dye clothing? Oh, good question. If there is, I haven't discovered them yet. I need a claw strider, razor tail. I need a claw strider circulator, another one. And oh, see, it's okay. So if I have it level 4, I just don't have frost resistance at all.
Dog, we strike in the hunt and in business.
Grab that real quick. So let's.
Anyone?
Doing a lap. I'm doing a victory lap. It's fine. Oh. Further down, maybe? Oh, hang on. I can go up again.
That's a bit of an exaggeration.
Oh. Oh. Ah, herbalist. Nice. Okay, that's good to know. So, okay, yeah, actually, yeah, it would make sense if the person you could dye clothing is with the armorer. Yeah, because Aloy had an outfit like this for when to sneak into the Shadow Sun place to rescue the kid. Yeah, Vanasha gave her an outfit, didn't she? Like, hey, you can sneak back in there anytime. Ah.
They have to break sometime, don't they?
So long.
You're a Nora, aren't you? Haven't seen one since I visited Hunter's Gathering.
I didn't think the Utaru traveled that far east.
I did it for my dyes.
I was just gonna say I did it for my eyes. I was like, what?
Plants to make new colors. It's amazing how the right hue can make armor express so much more than its mere function. I have some samples, if you're interested.
Go for it. Oh, oh, what is it? This is like Assassin's Creed, where it's like you remember, like in Brotherhood, you can dye the clothes and too. Oh, that's sick. Blood Dusk is nice though. Blood Dusk is very, very. I'm taking that. I'm taking that.
They're beautiful.
It's nothing compared
Oh,
to the Tanakh dyers.
oh.
They may not
Let's
be
go,
the
Aloy.
friendliest of tribes,
Go.
but if you bring their dyers plants or samples, they might show you their skills.
I'll keep an eye out for them.
I'm like a badass now. Okay. What would I need to get to upgrade again?
Nervous?
Oh, let's just get this over now with.
Chorus, so the singing just keeps going. Guess that means the
Yeah,
chorus
new
is
outfit.
still
Don't worry
in
about it.
The people sing to soothe the chorus, to help them break their impasse. It wouldn't be necessary if they were in harmony.
I'm not gonna have to sing back, am I?
Of course not. The singing will stop when we present ourselves. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, let's go talk to them.
Hi. I'm at a bad time? Hi. 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 Hi.
Speak.
Your sacred
Hello.
cave. There's something inside I need. And if I can get it, it will help.
Zoe and the Nora have spread word of your story and what you want. We know of no spirit in the cave, only Fa, our land god, who entered the cave and did not return.
The power of the land gods is broken. We are diminished. Tales of spirits will not help us. Nothing will.
We weaken, we die, and become fertile ground for new life. This is the natural order.
Wait. You're all just going to sit around until you become food for worms? Literally?
So says the Outlander, ignorant of our beliefs.
I can kind of see where they're coming from. Because
Please. Remember how she brought peace to Ray. Listen to her.
We've heard such temerity from you before, Zoe. Let us not forget that you agitated for reckless war against the Kaja.
At least she's trying to help.
How? By inviting you to break our traditions? Should we change our ways to suit every impudent outsider who wanders into Plainsong?
No. You should change your ways because your own lands are killing you.
point.
We have stood by and watched as our land gods waste away. You would have us do the same with our neighbors, our children.
Everyone's like audible
And
gasping.
this lone outlander can save us. Nonsense. A single seed matters little in the infinite cycle of growth and decay.
An alarm. It's coming from the mountains.
Or what you could do is just be like, yeah, go for it. Go in there. And if you die, you die. And if you come out, then, you know, prove us wrong.
Machines must have broken through the cordon.
Then we need to get down there.
What about the chorus?
If the cordon has fallen, there's nothing left to prevent us from going in the cave.
Right, go for it.
Time for permission.
is over.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. I like so already. It's fucking amazing. We need DLC with her as the main character, please.
This way! Out the gate and around!
Oh, Aloy. Please.
Fighting in the fields ahead.
What are we...
These machines don't look normal.
I've seen these machines before. Hunter killers. They must have come from the We have to move. It's down.
Well, that's the health potion at least. Critical strike. Bam. 16, let's go. I love how it was like, we just need to keep moving, and we're just fighting everything. Yeah, we're just murdering everything.
Machines are everywhere. Do you really think we can do something about all of this? Right.
Yeah, I know. I didn't need to fight them, but extra XP, right?
More machines!
These machines are stronger, deadlier than normal. There's more than just Minerva and a missing land god in that cave.
Let's keep running. Obviously search, but just keep running. Rip. Right, I'm just grabbing.
This trail is the path of the land gods. It'll lead us to the coordinate. More machines.
Oh,
Take them out,
no.
On your lead.
Okay, close right now. I've got that. Whoa. Oi, oi, oi. Ow, ow, ow. Well, give me some AirPods. Oi, oi, oi. Fuck. Oh, come on. Hey, Luco. Appreciate the like, buddy. Hope you're holding up alright. Okay, let's try again, shall we?
Machines
level
are everywhere. More something other than fire.
We can take them out, Aloy. On your lead.
The fallen! For the king! For the kingdom! Me! My microwave pizza I had for dinner. Ah. We've been given where? Bitch. Oh, I got stuck. Oh, I rolled.
Machines are everywhere.
This way, Aloy.
Acid won't make much of a dent.
Weak versus shock.
Can the others hold out? You're going down.
Oh, come on. Cool. Okay. Can I just love it when they jump over it? Ah! Oh, there you go. I'm trying my very best. Fuck me sideways. No. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Can we not? Ah! Ah!
You made yourself a... I have this one!
Oh, no, 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 no.
That's the last one. Now onto the cordon. Let's go.
Right behind you.
Come here, dude. Never used tripwires. Yeah, I'm never using tripwires ever again. Actually, what I remember, I'm taking them out. I'd rather you. I can't aim with because I suck. Oh, I'm sorry, Utaro God. Oh, trying to raise a tail? That's nice, actually. I'm just looting everything. Bear with, bear with. Oh, right. They're very much a use in stealth to make use of the weapon. Yeah. To set traps. They're basically traps.
We're almost there.
So many machines broke through. What happened to the Cordon's defenders?
Went ba-boom.
You better be ready for anything. Nothing's built to kill.
Shit. Oh shit. Nearly there. Come on. Let's find this cave. I bet it's a cauldron. That'd be fun as fuck.
Cordon. Oh, what's left of it?
So many dead.
They will be more when the time is right. For now, we must keep going.
Ravages? Oh, they're nasty pieces of fucking work. Huh. Okay, I was way more easy to use. Yeah. They're much more inaccurate, but they're much easier to use. Cache.
We shouldn't linger here.
I know we shouldn't, but loot. I must loot everything. Or the sacred cave.
May the land gods forgive our trespass.
I'm sure we'll be fine.
What is that?
A kind of wall. Made of light. Up
Follow
here.
your lead, Aloy.
Will make an interesting color for my armor.
Held it. We're on the other side of that. Fresh cold water.
What's that ahead? Like a cauldron door.
Repair bay. Oh. That's why they're like... Yeah, that makes sense why they're staying around for so long.
To understand what's going on in there, you're gonna need one of these.
Yeah, she's got like 5 of them. Like, hello. Welcome to the club.
On the temple. Just like this.
It's like, oh my god.
There's blue light on the door.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Zoe. I hope.
Now listen.
There's blue light on the door.
Machines we've been
The
fighting
fuck?
are different. More dangerous. That means there's something very powerful somewhere beyond that door. And it wants us dead. Follow my lead. And be ready for anything.
Even me! You know what this game needs? Dark, was it a mimic fight? Imagine. I mean, we technically kind of have one now, because there's 2 Elizabeth Sobek clones. So you could have a mimic fight.
Let's go. We have to find the core of this place.
There's so much metal.
Who built this place? Machines. Not like any you've seen before.
I've got Legends. I got Ocarina of Time in my head now.
We'll have to take them out.
Right behind you.
Boingy 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 boing. I did. I'm that damn good. I hit a weak spot. Whoa. So this game's just like, please switch your place on. I'm like, nah, I'm killing things. It's fine.
Aloy, here's some ammo.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Get me that.
Oh damn, Val's just a fucking warrior. Let's go.
I think our
Nina.
battle is done.
This is a cauldron where machines are born.
It looks like one, but if the land gods come and go, then they aren't just made here. They're being repaired too.
And the spirit you're after is in here.
Minerva? Maybe, but I have a feeling that's not all.
Oh look, molten metal.
Another wall.
Like Alexander, it's Alexander summon all over again. Yeah. Hello. Ooh. Aha. Cauldron door. Let's go.
I've seen them before. They're like an infection.
Oh, the purple.
Once it's dead, it takes over places like these.
Wait, wasn't it?
It's
Not
called
Hades.
Hephaestus.
I was gonna say it's Hephaestus. It's not. Wasn't Hephaestus wasn't that in the DLC? Hephaestus, the Frozen Wilds. Hephaestus, is that Hephaestus? At the end. Yeah, I
Those
thought so.
cables are blocking the way up. You two wait here. I'll find another path.
Okay. What are those panels on the floor?
Panels on the floor? Oh.
Activated something. Looks like parts of those pillars are rotating. Maybe if I shoot the gears, I can lock them into place. Make it pop up.
Ah, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Maybe that on the fly.
So, can you stand on that panel?
Purple? Purple? Yeah.
Like this? Good. Stay there.
The was Festus. Dee.
There. Should be able to climb all the way up now.
Nice.
More pillars. Might be a way across, if I can get them into the right position. Another floor panel. But I can't shoot the gears on the pillars from here. Maybe if I can find something to weigh this down?
Right.
This
Ooh.
crate should be heavy enough.
Looks like something I should grab.
Can't fit the crate through that opening.
What if I push it?
I think I can get the crate through that shield, but I'll have to go around.
Yeah, but if I push it through...
Find a way across, Aloy.
Working on it.
That could work. There you go. Ads ready.
That did it. The gears on the pillars should be exposed now. It didn't work. I think the gears have to be in the right spot to lock into place.
Oh. That. Okay. Oh. I'll wait for the ads to finish up and then we will continue. Oh. Well, that was a well-needed stretch. Well, whilst the ads are running, I'm just checking who's live. Ads? Cringe, shaking my head. Shaking my head. I know, Luca. Terrible, isn't it? So terrible. So terrible. But my dad got me. My dad just came back from his biking trip. Head skull. Clean. Neat. Like a nice little ornament. Nice little ornament. No worries. Welcome back from this, everybody. Continue. And no worries of the show as well. A Monster Hunter Generations. Ooh, how's that going?
Yeah. It reveals things. Lights, images, glyphs.
There. Should be able to get across now.
Think then for a second.
How's it going up there, Aloy?
I think I'm getting close. One more set of pillars. There should be a floor panel nearby to activate them.
I couldn't see anything. The click to interact with the stream things is on the way. Oh, the extension? I think you can hide that. You'll be able to click on it and hide it, or like make it not visible. Cool. Oh yeah, crowd control. Yeah, I can understand. I can. Not doing anything crowd control related at the minute. Aloy,
it looks like there are more pillars across from the first.
Yes, I know. I'm talking to chat.
Yeah. I'll look around.
No, not Gen MHT. It's basically Monster Hunter 1 Ultimate. The expansions are called G in Japan. Ah, okay. Yes, see.
So close.
Down. Go.
Still couldn't see the thing. What thing?
Okay. Now I can cross.
What thing would that be? I'm gonna have to refresh. That's fucking happened. Well, you know, sometimes you know, the joys of multitasking. Am I right? Oh, the orange thing you showed? Oh, this little thing? That thing you mean? You see it now? Is it close enough? Staring into your soul? Got blue on the top, like a little flower. GUI multitasking? I know, right? Crazy. Imagine. Oh, that was cool. Yeah, my dad got it. My dad got it for me for when he was on his little biking trip. He found it in a like a odds and ends tuck shop.
Festus's cables are all over that node. Maybe I can override it.
Looks like Uka Uka or something. It's a it's a skull, it's like sugar cat skull. Yeah, it's like Day of the Dead sort of style thing.
The cables are moving.
Words are hard.
Drawing back. We can climb up that vent.
Oh, I can't even talk properly.
How do we cross? Cables are twisted around that node on the other side. I'll see if I can get to it.
We'll wait here.
Looks like Uka Uka or something. It does actually, yeah. I mean, if it had more like black and orange and red, maybe, then yeah, definitely more.
That was quite a jump.
See that?
Okay, now, how to get up to the node?
Like this.
All right, let's see what we can do.
Looks very Los Muertos. Yeah.
Come on over, you two.
The I think is that the Mexican or Spanish translation? The Day of the Dead. Yes. Like that. I can't think off the top of my head. Obviously, Spanish is not my first language, so.
Who is that? Hephaestus. It's taking over this whole place. Looks like there's another node on the other side. Near that door.
Go do your
Yeah, Dia de los
To get
Muertos.
to that node on the other side.
Jump on the things. Oh, I can glide, can't I? Like that. On a timer, I didn't know. Grab onto that? Oh. I'll climb a little bit higher first. Ah. Yep, I'm fine.
These cameras are weapons. What is Hephaestus up to?
I gotta like then transfer to a different.
Above us. She's in the air.
Don't let go, Aloy!
Yep, wasn't planning on it. Ride's over. Time to let go. Okay. Now what?
Glide!
There's the note.
Nice. Festus is
Who is Hephaestus? What does it want in this place?
It's taken over facilities before to build deadly machines. But it wasn't always hostile. They used to be part of something good. Something called Gaia.
a lot of purple wires. No. Ah.
What has Hephaestus done to her? Turned it into a weapon, which sooner or later will be unleashed.
And then, plain song. If my people see what it has become, if one of our gods attacks them,
You know what we have to do.
Cockfight time. Or bus flight time. Yeah, that.
That dome of light. Is it protecting the machine?
Yeah. There should be a node I can override nearby to shut it down.
No, not the Grimhorn.
Attack down. We'll take care of them, Aloy.
Whoa, that was an explosion. No, I need ammo. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Fine.
I can use them against us.
Whoa. Oh, I didn't mean to use acid rounds. Shit. Oh, it's actually weak against acid.
Still in this fight.
Get out of the way. Wait, did it drop a weapon? Run. That's...
Finish the machine. They can't take off.
That's dead at least.
I'll grab this now.
You're the prey today.
Oh, really? Is that all that's left? Went to be repaired and then...
A machine that nearly killed us.
It's still her god.
I do not grieve for a god or a machine, but because I no longer know what to believe.
Look, so if you want, you can go back home.
Do I still have one? And if so, for how long? Can you really heal our lands? Save my people?
One step at a time. But it starts now.
I love when enemies drop guns. Yeah. Good enough. Oh, Cauldron Epsilon. Yeah, it remembers. Oh, well, we got rid of it. Yeah. But it went back to the cloud, so fuck knows where it is now. In Microsoft's hands.
Not bad.
Up we go.
But there's more.
Like Aloy said, this is only the beginning.
Override the repair of broken core.
Aloy, core. My focus is showing holograms on it.
Looks like Festus has been upgrading the security grid on the cauldrons. All the data's been corrupted. Not sure I can do much about that right now. And my focus doesn't recognize some of these. Must be machines I haven't seen yet.
I can override bristlebacks and long blowhorns.
Yes.
Let's press on then.
Arrow Whisperer. In skill points galore. Let's go. New interlude. The Eye of the Earth. Aloy, Val, and Zob explore a mysterious facility atop the mountain west of Plainsong. Could Minerva be hiding? Not entirely.
Greetings, graduates of Cradle 9. Welcome to the regional... Error. Unauthorized access detected.
That doesn't sound good.
Was that the spirit? Minerva?
I don't think so.
Oh, you mean with Hephaestus? Yeah, I think we just purged it. We've just purged it out of this cauldron. The nerve of her.
Attention.
No.
Vacate the facility immediately.
Something doesn't want us here. What exactly was this place?
Seen anything like it before?
No. There. That's our way out.
Unauthorized access.
Oh.
Initiating facility lockdown. Stay out.
What's going on?
Well, that's
the
not
emergency
good.
lights work.
What just happened?
Minerva's definitely here. And I think it's trying to keep us out. I'll scout ahead, see if there's a way to get us in.
You sure we shouldn't come with you?
Oh, yeah, Minerva could be dangerous. Let me make sure it's safe.
Okay.
We'll be right here if you need us.
What do I do? Oh, I gotta just pry the door up. Slee. Oh, I think I've... that Pokemon. These are Pierre Gasly, who is a Formula 1 driver.
Okay, I need to find where Minerva's hiding. I should look for a way to access the facility systems. Locked.
Alert. Restricted access. You are not wanted here.
Nope, sorry. You're not getting rid of me that easily, Minerva. Huh. Might be able to pull that open.
And pull.
See where this leads.
And pull.
Dead end.
Got some treasure though. That's not bad. Guessing we have to go this way.
What are all those cables in the center for?
Green.
Guess I'm not going that way.
Like Minerva, like... No, Apollo was knowledge. Minerva, I'm guessing that's like... Minerva would have been for... I can't remember off the top of my head.
Might be a way out of this shaft. Looks like another part of the facility.
down, so we can't go in there yet. Iron fragment, nice. That we will take.
And I'm outside. I need to find a way back into the facility.
Yeah, because otherwise everyone else in Farland's are going to be like, wish.
If I can get Minerva to cooperate, I can merge it with Gaia. Finally bring her back. Then we can start fixing the blight, the storms, and maybe she can help me figure out who those strangers in the proving lab were. Why did they have a clone of Elizabeth? Why did they want it back up?
I mean, didn't Silence say like they want the same thing as? But do they though? I could just glide across, couldn't I? Yes, literally as you typed that, I remembered.
Another shaft. Okay, now I've got to find a way to plug into this place. Looks like some kind of dome. Wonder what it's for.
My grave.
System core penetrated.
Seems fine. Well, she just lost her backup at least.
Minerva, I need the console. Please.
Access denied.
It didn't used to be like this. Do you remember it? Anything? You were part of something bigger once. Something good. Gaia. That's right. She can live again. But only if you give her the chance. I can't reboot her without you.
Aloy, cease.
I think you'll disappear into her. Become part of her. Like you used to be.
Misery will cease.
Yes.
I thought. Wait.
Thank you. Thank you, Minerva.
Oh no, she was about to put it in and then back up.
Elizabeth Sobek. Alpha Prime.
Because I thought she put it in and then.
Override activated. Restoring Minerva function to original code.
Oh, here goes nothing.
Do you wish to initiate heuristic matrix?
Here goes.
Just go boom. Oh, that's blinding light. Oh, there she is. Yeah, got. I think.
Greetings, Dr. Sobek. A moment. Scanning data.
Oh, he knows. He's getting all her memories.
So it is Aloy, not Elizabeth. We have much to discuss, but initialization of my heuristic matrix will not be complete for several minutes more. In the meantime, I suggest you familiarize yourself with this facility. It is our best option for a base of operations, and you can make use of its equipment to improve your ability to override machines.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good.
Shall I grant access to your companions? They will be here shortly.
Okay, but don't overwhelm them, okay? They don't have a lot of experience with things like, well, you.
So it's gonna be like it's gonna collapse.
So no fake this time?
No. This time she's real. Varl, Zoe. This is Gaia.
Hello.
Hi. Gaia's still, waking up. Let's look around.
I will highlight the location of the lab on your focus.
Oh. You can tell because she's like only like half like form.
I have established a network between your focuses, allowing you to communicate when apart.
Good.
That's cool.
So what was this place?
A regional control center, where Zero Dawn progeny would have overseen.
Guy's basically Mother Earth. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. You're literally bang on.
What's all this?
This was intended as the main gathering space for control center operatives.
You could fit a good number of people in here.
Or maybe just a few. To start with, you two go ahead. I'm going to poke around a bit.
So we're gonna get like a base of operations for this game? That's kind of sick.
So this was supposed to be a lab.
That was its intended purpose. Some of the machine data you recovered from the repair bay below us appears to be corrupted. Accessing the terminal in this room will show you how to repair and complete the override.
I'll take a look.
Oh, okay. Okay, so a Plowhorn override is available. But I need a Plowhorn primary nerve and 2 more primary Plowhorns horns.
Huh. Looks like I need data from machine parts to fix the corrupted override.
My initialization is complete. You may continue to explore the facility, Aloy. When you are ready, return to the control room. We have much to discuss.
Yeah, no kidding.
Looks like an office.
Correct. The facility was designed with a number of private offices.
I guess it's nice to have a space to call your own.
It's so.
This would have been an access point for advanced training modules on terraforming operations. Unfortunately, those modules were deleted when the Apollo database was destroyed.
That's too bad.
Old Ted. Think of them as
So this place was
schematics?
here
Yeah,
all this
yeah, yeah.
time. Wait for people who would never show up.
Why didn't they?
Remember that guy I told you about? Ted Farrow? He sabotaged things. It wasn't supposed to be this way. Looks like another office.
If no one's ever been here, who built all this?
Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it.
With the help of
Welcome in.
machines.
Guessing these are like exit points.
That door leads to the west exit. But before you leave, we have much to discuss.
Right.
Is this where I just was? Okay.
Oh, I've been down here before. It's where I first got into the facility.
Good to know. Good to know.
Okay. Maybe it's time to talk to Gaia.
I'll leave you to it.
Alrighty. We'll go in that room downstairs. Oh, okay. Hold on. That was good timing because I literally was about
Back
to...
already?
I might want to look around more first.
I'll come with you then. What's all this stuff for?
This facility was designed to process an immense amount of data from the terraforming system. This is where it would have been stored.
Looks like some kind of storage room.
Oh, wait. Haha. Room. Stuff. Hi. Hey, let's go. Good call, Jax. Good call. Oh, yeah, because... Oh, yeah, that room was locked before, wasn't it? I think that's everything. Yeah, we'll go back and see Guy. Unlike the doctor. Cool. For realsies this time.
Hello, Aloy.
Hi.
Hi.
So you're ready?
Yes. Initialization is complete. All tests show that my heuristic matrix launched correctly and is stable. You must have many questions.
Yeah. But two big ones first.
Subordinate function.
We're not going to be able to fix the biosphere without making you whole. I ran a search for your subfunctions at the Hades Proving Lab, but Minerva was the only one I found.
Thankfully, the sensory capabilities of this facility are far more advanced. I will search for the others now. Transmitting query pattern.
Please all be in the same place. Please be all in the same place. Please.
Of Apollo, Artemis, and Eleuthia, I can find no trace. They are simply gone.
What about the others?
Ether, Demeter, and Poseidon are revealed. They lie within reach. Procurable.
That's ice, water, and land? Or forest?
And Hephaestus?
It too stands revealed, but it is not like the others.
Definitely not that easy. Oh, no, imagine.
That's for sure.
In the years since the extinction signal, Hephaestus has evolved. Moreover, it is not confined to a single location. It haunts the global network that connects cauldrons to each other across the planet, making it exceptionally difficult to subdue.
Let me guess. We need it bad?
Correct. Its capabilities are essential. Without it, I can only delay the extinction of life on Earth. Hephaestus is our only hope of a permanent solution.
Yeah, because it makes life and it terraforms.
Unfortunately, we cannot. Procuring Hephaestus can only be attempted after my own capabilities have been significantly enhanced.
That's going to be the final boss.
Grab the other subordinate functions first, then Hephaestus.
Precisely so.
So, Ether, Demeter, and Poseidon. How do I capture them?
To recover a subordinate function, you will have to travel to its location and find the physical processor to which it escaped. Then, exactly as you did with Minerva, you must use the master override to revert the subordinate function to its original code state.
And then how do I get it back here?
The subordinate function must be loaded onto a data storage device and physically carried back to this facility.
Oh, goody.
The cartridge your root kernel was stored on?
Yes. Its capacity is limited, so it can only carry one subordinate function at a time.
Cool.
But in all other respects, it will suffice.
Maybe you can help me make sense of something. A while ago, I had a run-in with a group of strangers who tried to kill me. They had machine servitors and a clone of Elizabeth Sobek with them.
Yes, this was recorded by your focus.
Ooh. Who are they?
Do you know who they are?
The answer to that question is related to the extinction signal that woke Hades, prompting my predecessor's self-destruction.
The extinction signal?
Are the ones that created it?
That sounds ominous.
The signal did not come from Earth, Aloy.
Oh. The moon?
The calculations are complicated, but it appears to have originated 81 trillion kilometers away. A distance so vast that light itself requires 8.611 years to cross it.
That's mental. So a signal.
Okay, so
A signal from millions of miles, from millions of light years away.
why does it want us dead?
The Sirius star system.
Sirius? But that's where Far Zenith, their ship.
The Odyssey.
Yes, that's where it was headed. But it blew up. Unless...
Need it.
I don't... Why make it seem like they failed? They didn't want anyone to know. They didn't want future humans to think that they were out there. Wait. The strangers who tried to kill me at the Hades Proving Lab? The ones with the clone? Are you saying that they're from... that they're descendants of... Far Zenith?
Yes, that is my conclusion.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's a reveal. Huh.
The 3 subordinate functions that you detected. What do we know about them?
All 3 are relevant to problems currently plaguing the biosphere.
I mean, it makes sense how they got all the weird armor, I guess. Maybe it's come from the material from that planet.
The weather. Poseidon controls the organic and chemical composition of water resources.
What's this, Final Fantasy?
Sows, fertilizes, and tends to plant life. If all 3 were restored to me, they would constitute a massive increase to my heuristic processing density. But beware. Their responses to my query pattern were irregular. In human terms, they are frightened, lost, and paranoid.
Like Minerva. They need to be whole again.
Exactly.
Okay. Imagine having a post liked by an energy drink company.
The missing subordinate functions. What can you tell me about them?
Artemis rewilded the Earth with a variety of animal species. Eleuthia was responsible for gestating, nurturing...
I mean, Artemis makes sense because Lady of the Hunt.
...of human beings. Apollo was tasked with preserving, organizing, and disseminating vast archives of human knowledge and cultural achievements. Unfortunately, all archived Apollo data was purged on the 2nd of February, 2066, by order of Ted Faro.
Fucking dick.
Pharaoh, huh? I really hate that guy.
Understandable. He appears to have been pathologically narcissistic, impulsive, and unstable.
All 3 of the missing functions have already served their purpose, or were prevented from doing so. Do you still need them?
If attainable, yes. Restoring their remaining elements would increase my heuristic processing density. Unfortunately, I have no way to track them. They have disappeared without a trace.
Maybe once we get the first 3, we can track the second 3.
You said you need Hephaestus to save life from extinction. Why?
Every subordinate function has value, but Hephaestus is by far the most important. Only by recovering and merging it can I regain my ability to design and mass-produce new machines at cauldrons across the planet.
Yeah, that's the thing, innit?
Through it can I program new machines and alter the tasking of existing machines to completely reverse environmental damage. Recovering other subordinate functions may buy us time, but without Hephaestus, I cannot permanently stave off mass extinction.
Given Hephaestus's importance, is there really no way to capture and merge it first?
I'm afraid that is quite impossible. In my present state, launched and merged with Minerva, I am operating at less than 1/5, 18.8%, of my intended processing capacity. Hephaestus dwarfs this figure. Were an attempt made to conduct the merge under these circumstances,
Mass destruction. Oh.
Hephaestus would absorb me, rather than the other way around. A merge cannot be attempted until my heuristic processing density exceeds its own.
And how many subordinate functions is that going to take?
Merging Ether, Demeter, and Poseidon will expand my heuristic network to 41.6% capacity, exceeding that of Hephaestus.
You said Hephaestus isn't located in just one place.
Correct. Unlike the other subordinate functions, which are confined to discrete physical processors, Hephaestus is distributed throughout the global network that connects the planet's cauldrons.
So, when the time comes to subdue it, how do we make that happen?
I do not know. While you are retrieving the procurable subordinate functions, I will attempt to find a solution.
So, once Hephaestus has been recovered and merged, you'll regain the capacity to mass-produce machines at cauldrons around the world.
Yes, and to program their behavioral routines, or even control them directly.
So could you build an army of machines? Attack the descendants of Far Zenith and take them out?
I need a spaceship first.
It is in my nature to take any and all necessary steps to preserve life on Earth, human life above all. So yes, once I have been empowered with the capacities of Hephaestus, I could design, build, and command such an army. Given the nature of the Far Zenith threat, doing so may be our only option. I must admit, however, that I have misgivings about using such technology to kill, no matter how aggressive the enemy.
That's good. It means you have a conscience. As Elizabeth intended.
Indeed.
Why is there so many questions?
The sole purpose of the signal was to destroy life on Earth, right? Why would descendants of Far Zenith want to do that?
At this point, we can only speculate.
I mean, Earth posed no threat to them. We don't have the technology to get in their way. We didn't even know about them.
True.
Unless... well... could it be that they want the planet for themselves?
back what's rightfully
they were after a Gaia backup of their own. I mean, if they did that, if they booted their own Gaia and boosted her power until she could take control of Hephaestus, and then the whole terraforming system.
Then yes, the system could be used to do what the extinction signal failed to accomplish. Snuff out life, and then potentially to build an entirely new biosphere to their specifications.
So they could be trying to do the same thing we are.
But with opposite results.
Extinction instead of salvation.
That's the thing, innit?
Well, this is not good.
See? It could be. Like when Sladden said they want the same thing, they could, you know, he thought they could, but then probably being double crossed, or he knew about it and just didn't say.
You said Sirius is really far from Earth.
81 trillion kilometers, or 8.611 light years.
Right. So, how would the descendants have gotten here?
On a spacecraft much like the Odyssey, though significantly more advanced. The journey from Earth to Sirius would have taken the Odyssey almost 300 years. This appears to have been much faster. If their ship departed Sirius at the same moment the extinction signal first began transmitting, the journey was made in just 29 years at an average of 0.297 the speed of light. If they did not set out for Earth until they learned of the extinction signal's failure, the journey was even faster, a mere 13 years, or 0.662 the speed of light.
Okay, enough. You're making my head spin.
I am.
The descendants I ran into at the Hades Proving Lab, they
It's all. Yes, I know.
of Elizabeth Sobek.
Trust me, when I've watched people play games and I'm like, just you wait. Like when I'm watching Carly and with Final Fantasy 14, I'm like, I'm like, what about this? And I'm like,
as a key to the terraforming system.
But how could they have made a clone?
The Odyssey carried approximately 200.
You want to be like pinned to your seat. Now and your lips sealed.
Sobek's genetic material was sampled, with or without.
Otherwise, you're gonna slip out spoilers and get banned from a chat. Well, not banned from a chat, but probably get your message deleted.
Okay, but I mean, this clone. How could she participate in this? Destroying Elizabeth's dream? It's evil.
It is difficult to know. Perhaps she is loyal to the group and shares their objectives. Or perhaps she is a subordinate and has no choice but to comply with their orders.
Elizabeth Sobek? A subordinate? I don't think so.
You say that though. Like it's in it, like they say, it's nature versus nurture. Aloy and that other woman, they're both clones, but the way Aloy has been brought up, he's like, no, I'm nobody's understudy. I'm on my, she's been brought up to look after herself, where that clone could be more likely been brought up, in a group, in a, clan, cult, whatever you want to call it. And she's just like, nodding like, okay, I this is what my function is, nothing more. I don't talk about it. I don't answer back. I just do what I do. That's it.
The extinction signal didn't just wake Hades. It made every subordinate function self-aware.
I know. I can imagine Cyberpunk View is going to be torture.
Hades was the sole target, and the partial sentience imparted to other subordinate functions was incidental.
So the signal could only have been sent by someone who had thorough knowledge of the system, huh?
Yes. The signal's design was exceptionally precise.
Probably Ted Barrow that sent that signal.
Were its intentions less malevolent, I would admire the intellect or intellects that produced it.
So if the descendants came to Earth,
Far Zenith sounds like something out of like Starfield.
Ways, right?
Yes, As your encounter with them at the Proving Lab amply demonstrates, they appear to make extensive use of robotic servitors. Further, they seem to be equipped with some kind of protective energy field that shields them from harm.
Yeah, no kidding.
I want one.
The one
I want
fought seemed
that.
indestructible.
Throughout history, every defensive technology has eventually been defeated by an offensive counterpart. For
She's
example,
correct.
assuming I absorbed Hephaestus and utilized it to create a large force of combat machines. No shielding could withstand such an assault indefinitely.
So there's hope.
Always.
Gotta believe. Gotta believe in Joe Hendry.
How did you figure out that the extinction signal came from Sirius?
The key came with data on your focus, from Silent's interrogation of Hades. The duration of the signal itself, 17.22 years.
That doesn't make sense. You said that the signal took 8.6 years to arrive from Sirius. Why would the signal keep transmitting after it was received and you blew yourself up?
Because the sender didn't know that had happened until it received notice from Hades.
Even Joe
Which
Hendry.
would take another 8.6 years to get back.
Correct. Only then would the sender stop broadcasting, after a total of 17.22 years. So the duration
Actually, that's another
gave me the
Channel 5
distance
Redemption.
the signal traveled. With that in mind, I simply scanned my astronomical database for any relevant location 8.6 light years away. Because it was far Zenith's intended destination, Sirius was the only logical source.
Biosphere.
What is the state of the biosphere? Is the terraforming system functioning at all?
In a sense, the terraforming system never stopped functioning. The difference, since my predecessor's destruction, is that there has been no central governing intelligence to monitor its robotic agents and assign new tasks. As a result, errors have accrued, and day by day, the biosphere has
Yeah,
persevered ever
yeah.
more sharply towards
If you've been on Rocket
destruction.
Joe's stream,
In
you
recent
type in
months,
Joe and he does the whole video. It's so good.
But these bellwether phenomena offer just the merest glimpse of the
I'll have to have a look.
complex and accelerating cycles of environmental dysfunction, now driving Earth's biosphere towards collapse.
And you can't do anything to stop it.
If you can return Ether, Poseidon, and Demeter to me, I can improvise modest corrections to parts of the system. Weather will improve, water will be purified, and rampant plant growth curtailed. But such corrections will not stave off collapse. They will only buy us time. Only with Hephaestus can I design and produce new robotic agents designed to permanently reverse the damage that has accumulated. All efforts must be directed toward...
Joe's from the section of Scotland. Oh, is he really? That's awesome. Hell yeah. Local boy.
How long do we have then?
At present rates, without additional factors,
10 days.
the biosphere will cross a point of no return in approximately 4 months.
Well, that's not long.
And if I gather Ether, Demeter, Poseidon, merge you with them?
We will only gain a few months more.
Well, every bit counts. I guess I should get going and start bringing back subordinate functions. What can you tell me about their locations?
When my predecessor destroyed herself, the subordinate functions sought physical processors capable of holding them. So in each case you will be looking for a powerful computer of some kind. Ether is the closest, and therefore might be the easiest to acquire. However, it appears to be in the middle of Tanakh territory. My knowledge of that tribe is limited to data I read on your focus, but they seem to have a significant inclination towards violence.
Well, that's a nice way to put it. What about Poseidon and Demeter?
Poseidon has taken shelter in the desert south of this location. My substratal geography data indicates that a major old world settlement called Las Vegas was located there.
Oh, wow.
A ruin in the middle of the desert, huh? Strange place for an AI devoted to water.
Agreed. As for Demeter, it appears to be located on the coast to the far west.
Or like New
Unfortunately,
Vegas?
I am unable to provide any relevant data about the region. As such, it may be the most difficult to retrieve.
Okay, so 3 subordinate functions to go after. Ether, somewhere in Tanakh territory. Poseidon in the desert, and Demeter on the coast.
Where will you begin?
Ether.
I think I'll head for Ether.
Then I will assign Ether as the objective on your focus. If you obtain it, I may be able to use it to quell the most severe storms in the region. Though I will require Hephaestus and the control over machines that it offers to permanently stabilize the biosphere. Should you change your mind, you can update your objective via your focus interface at any time.
Yeah.
I will
Available
also
there.
transmit a summary of available data on all of the subordinate functions to you for reference. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Oh, I want to go now.
To accomplish.
I do, don't I?
Is something wrong?
I don't know. It's just that
A 5. Media 5.
Elizabeth set the bar pretty high. She had a dream for you, for life on Earth, and a lot has gone wrong, and it's all on my shoulders to fix it. Do you think I can do it all? Repair the system, defeat Varzenith, live up to her example?
Oh, ads. If you're playing on New Game Plus, you can do this section in any order. Yeah, that makes more sense. Right. Ads are running. I need to just be right back real quick.
Let me go and fetch the paintings. I'll be right back.
He's very talented.
Immagino.
Self-expression is vital to understanding and enjoying life. You should find an outlet.
I have plenty of outlets.
I meant besides vaginas.
Back to your house then.
Si. Ezio, help Leonardo, will you?
If you're expecting anything else, then you will be sorely mistaken. I had a rough day, and then somebody went and ripped the front and back pages of my dictionary. It goes from bad to. Oh, that's good.
Let me just grab the Udi. Grant, which? Ow, my ears. Pete, thank you for the $25 donation.
Yeah, I had a hunch that was what you were saying, but I didn't want to say it.
Sorry.
Oh, I can't breathe. Oh God, I need to clip that too. Not all men. I must add, not every man is like that. I might start selling my bathwater. I think they do it now, don't they? That's what sparkling water is, isn't it, Adam? Oh, imagine that, selling bathwater. Oh. People would buy it though.
Okay, I'm back. Do you want to do some Edinburgh? Nice. Good stuff. Right, that's good timing. That's done.
Absolutely. In her last message, my predecessor declared her unwavering conviction in your success. In you, all things are possible. You prevailed in purging Hades and rebooting my system core. You will prevail in this.
Thank you, Gaia. Well, I guess I should get going.
I have unlocked the facility's exits. One leads onward to the west. The other leads back down the mountain to Plainsong, should you wish to return east.
Varl?
Whoa! Gonna have to get used to that. That's you, Aloy?
Yeah. Gaia's opened the exits to this place. Can you and Zoe meet me by the west door?
Be right there.
Face to the west door.
Okay. I need to bring Ether back for Gaia. Varl and Zoe are waiting for me by the west exit. But I could head back east first. Check on how Plainsong's doing after the attack. Or I could also look around here some more.
I don't know. There's something there, apparently. Exit to the west.
Are you sure?
Yes. I think it'll be better this way.
After you, Aloy.
Whoa. Okay. That's a view.
I need to head further west.
Character map is where Gaia. Ah, that's where Gaia is. My bad.
Get more of Gaia's components. Make her stronger. You two can stay here in the meantime. Gaia can help get you up to speed. I'm not trying to shut you out. It's like training.
Actually, I'm gonna go back east to get Erend. Bring him here. Look, allies, friends.
Now the Forbidden West has truly opened
We
up.
have a place to stay
Yeah,
now.
now we have a real
Like you
objective.
said, Gaia can teach
Takes us
catch
everywhere.
us up. It'll be okay.
Okay. Take these then.
One to wear, one for backup.
While you're at it, stop by Stone's Echo and look for Milu. Give her a message for Talana that I found a way over the mountains.
Will do.
Are you going with him?
No. After what happened in the cave below, I want to stay here a while. There is much I need to understand.
Oh, she's taking her hat off. I
Maybe
just
by the
noticed.
time you get back, I'll have a thing or two I can teach you.
Oh.
Looking forward to it. When will you be back?
They're so well matched.
I'm not sure. But hopefully I'll have one of Gaia's missing components with me.
Be careful out there. Even in Plainsong, we heard how the Tenakth clanlands are suffering from storms, machines, and now Regala.
Don't worry about me. I'll be fine.
Good hunting, Aloy.
About me.
The Tenakth clanlands. Somewhere out there's 3 of Gaia's sub-functions. And who knows what else.
Yeah, we've gone from like, yeah, so the base is now our like, quote unquote middle. It's like our middle of the map. It's Aether's there, Sidon's there, Demeter's there. Yeah, okay, we got. I could do a cauldron now. Could. Quiet spear. Weapon plus. Right, you can speak with Zoo now to get an example of what I'm getting at. Could do that side quest section. I do recommend speaking to your friends in the base every time you progress story. Ah, okay. Sorry. Now I just read that. So she's in the base then.
Oh, Aloy. Your Karja friend came through. She went to that Oseram camp you two were looking for, to the southwest.
She like helped you.
Aloy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. You sure you're okay being alone in here?
I have Gaia. And learning how to interpret the glyphs of the old ones, it keeps me occupied.
Have you gone back to Plainsong at all?
I thought about it, but I wouldn't know what to tell them. The chorus already thinks me a thorn in the thicket. If they knew what we did to Fa, even if they understood, there'd be little they could grasp about all this. No. For now, I must leave the tribe behind.
Sounds like you met my friend Talana.
Yes. The Karja Huntress. I haven't seen armor like hers since the Red Raids. But Varl tells me that she too suffered at the hands of the Mad Sun King.
Yeah. She's one of the good ones. Trust me.
Yeah. Alana.
So you've been talking to Gaia?
Yes. She was kind enough to take me through some of the history of the Old Ones, including their demise and the heroic actions of her creator, Elizabeth Sobek. I was surprised to see she was you. Past, but reborn? Not that I claim to understand how.
Get back plan.
You mentioned you've been teaching yourself how to read?
Yes. Gaia was kind enough to put together a list of glyphs used by the Old Ones. She helped me decipher some of the data you've collected and showed me how to use the focus to help the process. It's not easy, but it's been working so far.
That's good to hear. Did Gaia tell you anything about the Zeniths?
She did, though it wasn't exactly easy to believe. To think that there are places among the stars where life can bloom as it does here.
Ooh.
It is humbling, to say the least, and heartbreaking that such life should be bent on destroying ours.
It's evil.
So, how does a tribe like the Utaru manage to maintain the peace with warriors like the Tenakth?
By holding them off. When our fields bloomed aplenty, the Tenakth looked upon our lands with envy. But Plainsong's dishes provided sanctuary and high ground to keep invaders at bay. In the end, Even the Tenakth saw sense in a truce. The Utaru promised to provide the Tenakth with food from our crops every year. In exchange, the Tenakth would relinquish one of their own, a veteran, to train the Utaru in combat. This custom was abandoned a few years after the derangement.
That would be a very...
some veterans
Oh
still
yeah,
remain
like
in the plains.
Zoe's like literally... She's like unremembering. She's got to basically unknow what she knows, and basically try and be an open mind and just try and absorb everything.
You didn't seem to be on the best of terms.
That's what happens when you're the one Utaru who insists on publicly defying them. Twice. When the Karja invaded the Utaru plains, they did more than just attack our villages. They burned our fields, took our people as slaves, and murdered those who were too weak to make the trip back to Meridian.
To be sacrificed in the Sun Ring.
I was helping the healers back then, as waves of refugees swarmed into Plainsong. The chorus was divided in how to face the invaders. Some saw sense in raising arms. Others believed the dishes would keep us safe, as they had many times before. And while they bickered, I buried the seeds of the fallen.
It couldn't have been easy, seeing your people suffer while the Karja invaded your lands.
I come from a small village near Plainsong. My grandmother used to say there was no seed that wouldn't grow there. I moved to the dishes when I decided to apprentice as a healer. When the Red Raids began, I thought about going back. But the injured kept pouring into Plainsong, day after day. So I kept putting it off. One day, I woke up to hear a Karja raiding party had ransacked my village during the night. I rushed there with the healers to help the survivors, but there weren't any left. The smell of burning flesh haunts me to this day.
I'm sorry, Zoe.
I made it a point to appear before the chorus as soon as we returned, to demand that we take a stand against the invaders. I was denied. So I left to fight on my own.
I bet that was tough.
You said you set out to fight the Karja
Jesus, fair play.
I did. But it turned out I wasn't the only one. News of my disagreement with the chorus spread through the plains. Before I knew it, I had more than a dozen Utaru warriors ready to follow me into battle.
Let's fucking go.
We knew we couldn't take on the Karja armies head-on, but we also knew the lay of the land better than they did. We ambushed smaller raiding parties, sabotaged their supply lines, and hit their encampments at night.
Sounds like you were a force to be reckoned with.
Enough that the Tenakth took notice. When the clans began to push the Karja back east, they let us join their ranks. We chased the enemy all the way to Barren Light.
You
Fuck
said
us out
you
of
were at
there.
Barren Light when the Tenakth defeated the Karja?
Tenakth marshals climbed the cliffs of the Daunt under cover of night, then attacked from the other side. Before we knew it, the gates were open, and the full force of the clans burst through. What happened next was not something I like to remember. When all the dust and blood settled, I smelled it again. The stench of burnt flesh. Our enemies defeated. What was left of my squad returned to the Utaru Plains. I went back to Plainsong. But even as the harvest passed, it didn't feel like I'd truly returned at all.
Is that when you became a grave singer?
I thought soothing the suffering of others would somehow appease my own. Then you came along and gave me a choice. I could either sing at people's graves or fight for a chance to keep them alive.
I'm glad you chose the latter.
Hell yeah.
I need to go, but if you need anything, you can contact me through your focus.
I'll keep that in mind.
Keep going. Here we go. Get the offices. Oh, there's something out. There's something in the. Is there stuff in the offices now? Oh, is it where the? Is that where the will be? True.
Gaia? What's this space for?
Oh, this is okay.
This would have been the sleeping quarters for control center operatives.
Everyone's sleeping in one place. Sounds crowded.
A toilet, showers.
Hey, Gaia? Why doesn't this door have
Hey,
power?
Lakers, how you doing, buddy?
At my current operating level, I am only able to restore functionality to part of this facility.
It's fine. I can remember when it triggers. It's after you progress the story a bit.
That may change.
Got it.
Aloy, you have now visited all accessible rooms of the facility.
Oh. Got a campfire? What the fuck? Campfire. Off my stash. Let's go. You didn't know, Akers. Good to see you as always. Been a minute. Campfire. Doing well, just got in from work. How are you? Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Oh, how was work? Was oh, press sorry a bit more. Unlock the campfires outside by the 2 exits. Ah, okay. I thought I was going to. That was going to be my next question. Like, did I just unlock the campfire outside? Oh, that. Oh, the fucking east one. If I get the west one as well. So I got 2. Oh, work was alright. Hello, room.
Let me take a look at you, stranger.
Don't kill me, please. I taste
You're
bad.
the outlander who stood against Regala and her rebels.
Only
What?
if it means we're good here.
Don't worry. I'm not here to drink your blood, or whatever you Easterners think
God.
you do. The slaughter at the embassy wasn't your fight, yet you stood by the Martians.
Went by really quick, so that was nice.
As far
Ah,
as I'm
nice. Yeah.
concerned, you're no enemy of the Tanakh. But you are going to need help if you plan on surviving the clanlands. I hear and see many things as a scout. I could share them with you, aid you on your journey.
I'd be grateful.
Well then, a caravan of Asura make camp in the still.
Yeah, at least work went by quickly, so that's not too bad.
We've tolerated them so far. But their leader's a greedy profiteer. He steps out of line, I'll gladly send the whole camp packing.
That's fair enough.
Was it a long shift or was it a short one?
Sounds like the Aloy were taking quite a risk being out here.
Okay, so I think at this point we'll. I think we'll just. What was it now? 9:30. I think we'll do this rebel outpost. We'll just do like these little areas here, the relic, the hunting ground, and then we'll try and go to River Him as well. I think we'll just do that little. Do that little area, and then we'll call it then. You've progressed further in the story as male V. Nice. At the normal time, so like like a 9 to 5 then, is it? That's like what, 7 hours? No, 8 hours. Yeah, 8. Sorry. On math. Yeah. It's always nice when a you know, a typical shift, 8-hour shift or so goes by. I mount.
All right.
Activate that quest. Rebel outpost, here we come.
Rebels. I'd heard they'd set up outposts in the area. If I leave them
Rebels.
be, they'll cause nothing but trouble. I should lie low. Find whoever's in charge and take them out. Maybe then the rest will leave. The
Will
ballista
they?
might give me some extra firepower.
Why are you shouting that out? Like, literally, we're meant to be... Oh, hi, rebel soldier. That I definitely knew you, that was there.
That soldier with a heavy weapon. That has to be the one in charge.
We shouldn't do. Expose yourself, you old bitch.
I'll rip you apart!
Hang on. No, you won't. No, you won't.
I should check the body. Might find something useful.
Not bad. I killed one soldier and a leader.
These look like identification tags. I've seen Snog soldiers carry them, but without a leader, the rebels should abandon this place. But I could always deal with them now. Either way, I'm done here.
Yeah, I start these. I'm usually done in the early afternoon. Oh, that's not... Oh, nice, nice, nice. I think that's how I would prefer it. Start early and then finish earlier. You get more time to yourself then. It wants me to clear out. Then... Oh, definitely. But then again, I'm not getting any experiences with that.
I've got machines in here. I could override them and set them free. Stir up some trouble.
If I see anyone loafing around,
And I wasn't... No, no, no. Aloy, get off. Get off. Your machine's dead, so... Dead. Dead. Nice. Okay. I wouldn't... Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, that's totally fair. But yeah, like I know mine's more 9 to 5, but like yeah, if I can have the choice of starting early and finishing early, then definitely would I. Finish. It's like if I finished at like 3 instead of 5, I would have more time to do, especially in the winter. I'd have way more time to do stuff. You know, like I could go for walks more, fight, and around that. You know.
These rebels won't be bothering anyone else.
Okay, complete rebel outpost. Plain song. We are done here. Got a campfire. Nice.
My pack's full. I can get it from my stash later.
Supply. Okay, so next on the cards is probably the hunting ground. Try that next. Sorry about that, just checking a few things. My mount. Have you played this game, by the way, Lakers? I should have. Or Ridgewood here. Lots and lots of ridge. I could go to the ruins as well. Hi.
So you made it. Welcome to the hunting grounds.
Oh.
My name is Avina. I'm the caretaker of the grounds. I make sure they're kept fit for training against machines, whether they be used by our soldiers or our Utaru neighbors.
Same as the Karja then.
Ah, yes. We've heard those cowards claim the idea of hunting grounds as their own, but our soldiers have been training in places like this since before the clan wars. I'm willing to bet our trials are beyond anything the Karja would dare face. A skilled hunter like you might actually find them challenging, rewarding too. Win our trials and you'll earn stripes. That in turn will garner you some medals. Remnants of our victory against the Karja during the Red
What if I
Raids.
get all of them?
You can take medals to the arena at the Grove, our capital. Its keepers will let you exchange them for the finest weapons and gear our tribe has to offer.
I'll keep that in mind.
Man.
I should probably also mention our carver.
Or lady,
They
in
make
this case.
pieces for a popular game of ours. Watching the machines at the grounds gives them inspiration.
You mean strike?
You know of it. Then maybe you should check out their wares. Carvers almost always have extra pieces to trade for the right resources. I should get going then. I have other grounds to inspect, but rest assured they will be open to you. Walk with the 10.
Run with the 12. And these are the workbench. Outfit upgrades. Karja Shadow, yes. Oh, okay, yep. Oh, medicine capacity increase. Let's go. 1 concentration plus 2. Let's go. Well, all I need now is a Snapmore sack webbing. The resistances are so much higher. Ooh, Utaru Whisperer. Didn't even know I got that. Artisanal attire woven for quiet kills, improving silent strike. Okay, acid, I'm terrible. Crafting, not really fun. We got sun-touched hunter bow. Ooh, hello. That's got potentially 3 types of ammo. Or could sell stuff. Could sell stuff. Show him. I probably shouldn't sell these things, but I might keep that because that's Spud hunt bow. Well, if I get that bow, I don't need the normal bow. The fire bow I can get rid of. Like I can get rid of like 3 bows. Caster, no. Okay, the strong arm one I can get rid of. The one I can get rid of. Yeah, so the fire and hunter bow, I could just not have. Or I could have the hunter bow because it has acid around. Trapper, I'm not really. Untouched hunter bow. Yes, I want that. Fine equip. So my inventory, so my weapons now. So I got a sun-touched hunter bow, which is normal fire and then tear, like extra tear. I've got my other bow is a frost hunter bow, so it's acid and ice. I got a hunt. I don't actually really. I don't even need the hunter bow because I've got those 2 I can get rid of because the frost has the acid damage as well. Technically. Hardweave, sharp shot bow, canister, rope caster. The fire hunter bow I can definitely sell.
Looking to strengthen your hunting skills out?
Yes, I just need to upgrade some. Ooh, okay, frost hunter bow. Yes. I got a new. Oh, draw speed is increased. Let's go. Critical hit damage, nice. Overdraw damage, nice. I need a bellow back circulator and I unlock the. Whoa, the f was that? Ow, that was my ears. That was steam. Anyway. Okay. So I need a bellow back circulator. I could get. That's no problem. I can get that from the scrapper actually. I can upgrade the Carja Shadow max level. Nice. Oh, the Snapmore sack webbing. Let's go. Max level. Let's go. I don't actually have any reduced resistances to anything now. Love that. Love that. Love that. I'm not gonna use the blast. Fire. Okay, so I could technically this guy grab the item I need. Hopefully he has it. Doesn't, I'm gonna cry. Like a lot. Oh, he does. Let's grid wire. I think he does. Wait, do I need, or do I just need?
Good call. You got any salvage to sell, Huntress?
Any salvage? I'm gonna have to try and. What was it I needed? A bellow back circulator. Fuck, okay. I need a bellow back circulator. Cool. Let's do this.
Are these your hunting grounds?
They are.
Oh, yeah.
Try a challenge, and we'll see if you live up to your reputation.
Patience always reaps the best harvest. To approach a battle unseen is to retain the element of surprise. A sudden attack from the shadows can be just as effective as charging into battle. Master these trials and your enemies will never see you coming. Oh, silent stuff. Silent looting trial. Loot supply caches without alerting or damaging any machines. Okay. Ooh, okay. Stealth.
Down the rope and I'll start timing the trial.
I need to loot 3 caches. Fuck. Well. I went a bit there. I went there a bit too quick. That's fine. Killed it though. Bo-bo-doo-boo. Actually, I do have smoke bombs I could use. Ow!
There's no shame in losing. You may have failed the challenge, but you can always try again. Jump down with the ropes, and we'll begin the trial.
Go to this one first. But this is.
Shins
Aloy, I pressed the crouch button. Yet here we are. Oh, just murder me, please. Oh my god, please. Why are you doing so little damage? When they're level 10, I suppose.
Not all battles are. Why not try that hunt again, or maybe another trial?
I can do it. I know stealth is not my strong point, but I will try it. I can do it. No. Yeah. Unavailable. Hello? Oh, is it? Eve? Come on, please. Hide. Why can't I grab it? Hello? I could have just done that, maybe. Okay, so everything here is like stealth based. Termite walks into a bar and asks, "Is the bartender here?"
You've got skills. I see you.
I think the first bar is like for a grand, yeah, say full stripes. It goes down and then so if that bar empties, then I can't get that. I thought it was the total time, but it's not. Okay, yep. So we've done that. So silent strike. Kill machines using the silent strike can strike from above to remain undetected. Okay. Yep. Into that.
Just slide down a rope to start. I look forward to seeing you compete.
Oh god. Hello? Yeah! Oop. Ah! Yeah, nice. Oh, we got the full 3-star. Let's go. Fucking go.
Good use of this.
A good hunt deserves a good... Take this. You've
You've
earned
earned
it.
Full stripes again. I'm just getting full stripes. Either failing or getting everything. Seems. Okay, last one. Silent gliding. Use your shield ring to glide undetected over machines and kill them from above. While gliding, hover over an alerted machine and quick tap R1 to kill it. Okay. Back to that.
Just slide down a rope to start. I look forward to seeing you compete.
There's another cauldron that can teach me.
Let's go. First try. Stealth. Fucking I'm a master of stealth. There we go. That is.
Another challenge. I believe this is yours.
That's all the challenges done. Oh, look at that. Let's go. Two skill points. Oh, I got a lot of metal shards.
The grounds will be dull without you.
Hmm. 4 skill points, right. What are we going to pump this into? Machine Elemental Plus. Okay. Silent Strike gain. Recover weapon stamina and earn additional valor when using Silent Strike. Strike heal. Ooh. Or Silent Strike deals more damage. Yeah, 50% more damage. Oof, baby. Low health melee, low health. Or recover concentration faster. Hey, we're coming. It's coming along. It's coming along nicely, actually. Breaking even. The roots that bind. Yeah, we just got a ruin, and then we'll do a ruin here, and then we'll try and go to River Him. Hey GB, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Actually, I think we'll leave it. I think once we've done the
Using frost won't help
I think once we do the ruins, we'll call it there. Actually, it's nearly 10 o'clock now. Good place to stop. How you keeping, GB? Hope you're doing well, buddy. looking at things I could. I don't really want to scroll through different traps, like all my traps. I've just got rid of them all. I can just unequip it. That's so much nicer. How you doing there, GB? Hope you're doing well, buddy. I should be using the sun-touched one. Oh. Yeah, it's actually better damage. How wide more is beast, isn't it? Oh.
An old world ruin. Might be the one that Utaru and Plainsong told me about. Let's see if there's anything useful inside. Okay, what's in here? This data might help.
I probably read what it's called. Thanks again. Oh, okay. Because it's a... Oh, it's... Okay. Yeah. I approve.
This could
Option, yeah.
be useful.
That's how you get to the door. Oh.
An ancient rail cart. Huh. I wonder if it can still move.
That would be very handy to...
Okay.
The answer is yes.
Nice. Deposit of green shine.
So...
There's some kind of relic in that room. How do I get in there?
Where are you in the game? I'm here. Relic Ruins Restless Wheel. Maybe that can break the wall?
Pass along.
I'm doing well, GB. I'm complaining, huh? How's things with you? That'll be a way to get in there, though, right? Oh, there's the other part of the key. Question is, how do I get up to said? Oh, ads. Apologies, everybody. Probably not worth. Oh, hang on. I can change the track. Hold on. Hold the phone.
Move this over here.
Bring it over there, and I can grab stuff.
As far as it goes.
The fact that even still works is
What does
fucking
this switch do?
amazing.
Looks like this switch controls the tracks.
Yeah, I'm just doing this little ruins thing, and then I'll wrap up there then. Yeah.
Okay.
Should be done in about 30 seconds. But you're not missing much anyway. It's not like there's anything story-wise to being missed, so.
There.
Me pushing a rail car. No? Okay. Okay, this will get me the key at least.
Oh, a key module.
Nice. Welcome back from this, everybody. Look at the exterior of the station. It's hard to miss. Ah, okay. So the exterior of the so the exterior of the station should have. I mean, that will tell me the date. Fargo. Oh, 1923. Found it. That is old. even by like modern day standards, it's old.
There we go. This needs a code. I think I found some data in the ruin that might help. I'm in.
Really, Aloy? I have to be. Like I said, not missing much.
Okay, what's here now?
Nice. Oh, clean. That'll be a shortcut, I would imagine. Oh, because I need the cart. Right? I need the cart. I'm gonna push it all the way, pull it all the way back.
This along.
Change tracks and then push it forward again. Be done very short. Curve tracks. How that even works and hasn't like just snapped off. It... like genuinely how. So we're in Nevada, basically.
Okay. I'll move this over here.
There it is.
Made it. Another relic. Guess I'll figure out what to do with it.
5,000 E. It. Oh, there was a whole. Was genuinely scared. I fell through the floor then for a second. Thought it was solid floor beneath me, but it wasn't. My bad. Oh, thank God. Thank God. I genuinely was worried then for a second. I wasn't ready. Okay, so we'll mark this as our next. Campfire here. I could just easily walk to. You know what? Just for ritual's sake, we'll fast travel Barren Light, because why not? We'll make it a little tradition that we start and end in the same place. Let's say if I have a bit more time, I might try and do like the towers. Just get the towers done. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. That's how I feel. I might do it like after stream, like after I've streamed this. Go around and get all the little. But yeah, we're proper suited and booted now. Why? We are proper suited and booted. Belloback curtailor front, circulator front. Well, the obvious answer is a Belloback. Can upgrade the warrior bow. Come on. Oh yeah, I can level up. I got 2 skill. Just need to build up. Energize your spear faster. Power attacks deal more damage. 40% at. Cool. Alright, let's do what now? Do what now? Alright, let's quick save. Manual save, because so 14 hours of the game done. We're gonna call it there. The towers, these signal towers. I was gonna lens with the lenses. That was kind of got a most anticipated game for the rest of 2024. Ooh, really, I don't think. Like say, Hades 2 is already out, but it's kind of like in beta still. Like it's out, but it's not like fully fledged. I guess I don't know. And then there was Rebirth, or FF7 Rebirth, obviously. Oh, I was thinking something completely different. All right, okay, it's all good. I know there's the new Power Rangers game that's coming out. I'm quite excited for that. Mainly for like just like playing it with friends and peeps for a laugh. I'm excited for that. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else is coming out this year. Like the new Call of Duty. Yeah, like I might get it on. I'll probably get it on Xbox because it's free on Game Pass. But apart from that, it's like can't really think of what else to like look forward to. Like I'd have to look through a list. You know what I mean? Of games coming out this year, maybe. What's yours though, Lakers? No, but I'll probably see one and be like, oh yeah, that game. Mhm. Oh, oh shit! What is it? It was the last thing Silent Hill 2 remake. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Sonic and Shadow Generations. That I'm very excited for. Very excited for. Oh, Outlaw. Oh, Star Wars Outlaws is coming out end of the month. Nice. Visions of Mana. Hmm. Oh, yeah, new Test Drive Limited. I hope that's good. Loved that game. There was one where it was like Sekiro, and it looked really fucking good. Not Wukong, the Monkey King. There was a different one. I can't remember what it was called. Oh, it's gonna bother me now. What's it called? Black Myth Wukong looks great. That one's high on my list. Yeah, I might get it. I don't know, maybe. But there was another one that looked similar to that, and you had like a katana, and it was like, and the combat looked like Devil May Cry, and it was so good. I can't remember. Oh, they revealed it on the PlayStation one as well. Oh, I can't remember what it's fucking called. I think that it was one of the last trailers they revealed, like one of the last gameplay trailers they revealed on Summer Games Fest. That might have been it, yeah. Phantom Blade Zero. It might have been that, yeah. That looked really good. That looked really good. When I saw the game was revealed, and I was like, oh, hold up. I was like, hello. You know what I mean? Who have S game? What have they published? Oh, like 3 games. Okay. Yeah, it looks good. It looks really, really good. It might be like Rise of the Ronin and I just don't like it, but yeah. That one's 2025. That's fair. But yeah, that's probably what was it now? Power Rangers. There's a few, like I say, there's a few here and there, but like I said, the main ones for this year for me were Rebirth and Hades 2. I haven't touched Hades 2 yet though. I'm keeping I'm waiting for it to be a bit more fleshed out. I can wait, I don't mind waiting. I mean, so but yeah, there's definitely some good games coming out. Cool. All right, we are gonna go and raid Rocker Joe because he is shredding on a guitar, doing some Clone Hero. So figured we'd go there for a little bit. Stalker 2 is also right in my alley. Oh, isn't that like a? Oh, I think I've seen a trailer for that. Yeah. Yeah, that looked alright. Yeah, we're gonna say hi to Joe. Cool dude, good friend of mine. And yeah, we just gonna say he's just doing some Clone Hero, Guitar Hero stuff. And I'm gonna bow out and head to bed. So I appreciate everyone coming in. I will put the raid message in as well. Again, thanks everyone popping in for the the latest episode of Horizon Forbidden West. We've definitely kind of opened up the game even more now. So going to be like 3 streams of exploring side quests now. So gonna be fun. Yeah, take care, Lakers. It's good to see you, buddy, as always. I see you popping in. A familiar face, no doubt. But yeah, take care, everyone. I will see you when I see you. And yeah, until next time. Good night.